Hola, mi amigos, and welcome to episode 228 of the Center Ring. And this is going to be the best episode ever because we have a brand new segment. We put our heads together and said, what is an awesome name that we can come up with for a valoRANT segment? And we came up with the 100% original idea, the valoRANT. Get it?
Wow.
Get it?
That's good. That's creative.
Rant, valoRANT. Hey, you don't become the number one esports podcast without some creativity here. We will also be discussing Nadeshot Gate, the pros moving over, more pros moving over, jumping ship from their respective esports. And, Nadeshot and I got in. So we'll talk about our first experience playing the hot new toy that everyone wants. But before we get to any of that, be sure and go to our friends at Ultimate on Twitter and give them a big old TCR sent you. Maybe you'll get something out of it. I don't know. We'll figure that out when it happens. But they are the sponsors of this episode of the Center Ring, and we do love them for it. They make very comfortable clothing. I'm actually wearing a piece, one of my favorite pieces right now, Anuj.
That is a really soft shirt. Like, I've seen you wear that. You had that on a DreamHack. I've seen you wear it when we were in Cali. Like, that is a really, really soft shirt.
I am wearing the Dallas Fuel tie-dye shirt, and I won't lie. This is my go-to. If it is clean, and sometimes not, it's my go-to. I want to be comfortable. I want to just feel like I'm constantly wearing a warm, fuzzy blanket, but
like
not too...
Someone's always hugging you.
Yeah, it just feels like a hug. And that's what alt feels like. You put on a piece of alt clothing, and it's just like, ooh, who's hugging me right now? What are these warm, fuzzy feelings? It's not a hug. It's alt. So you can check it out, altesports.com. If you want a hug from us, first off, you'll have to wait. Social distancing. We're practicing safe social distancing here. But you can also go to altesports.com and order our hoodie. It's under the collaboration area. You'll see TCR, the 101 Burglars hoodie. It's almost like Anuj and I are giving you a hug. But until we see you at DreamHack Dallas, because that's for sure not getting canceled, maybe we'll give you a hug there. But for now, altesports.com is the closest you will get.
Hey, it's Kenias from J2 Esports, and you are listening to Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. As I said before, this is episode 228. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring. And our website, tcr.gg, has all the other links for our Discord, which is popping lately with the valoRANT coming out. It's like everyone all of a sudden is excited to play again. So
it woke everybody up.
It really did. So we kind of always have people in there looking to party. I think we have almost enough active people, like where we could constantly be running private rooms as well. So
everybody had keys. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I think we actually have, somehow our listener base got pretty lucky when it comes to keys. So I don't want to say we had any persuasion in that, Anuj, but I'm not saying we didn't either. I'm not saying we didn't. So join our Discord, hit us up, give us in the looking for group section. You put in your Riot name and ID or whatever, and we'll add you, we'll hit you up, and we can at least, at the minimum, just play pickup games if we can't get a private room going. So, but then again, you can find that link on our Twitter at the Center Ring or our website, tcr.gg. My name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
What a lovely day. I've been having so much fun. It's just been good.
Like Christmas. It almost feels like we got a new toy.
It definitely feels like a new toy. I mean, it is a new toy, right? Like this is what toys are to us now.
Yeah,
so,
that's
I haven't had one of these in a while. Like a lot of games I love and I'm playing, other outside of this that I've enjoyed, but this one hits a little different.
There's just so much hype built up around it. But speaking of the day, have you been outside today?
I did. I went to an ice cream truck passed by my house while I was working, and I could hear it. And I made a dead sprint, and there was no social distancing worries over there. Like there was actually
ice cream man
people
doesn't care.
outside waiting. The ice cream man was like 2 feet away, handing it to me. It was lovely. Got a couple of lemon chills for me and the wife.
It does seem an anti, or would that be a pro-corona business? The ice cream man in today's world is kind of enemy number one.
He's an essential business at this point in time. Like he's bringing a little joy to every neighborhood in the country right now.
Yeah, but you can't go there, like you said. Like everyone is lining up.
Well, so like the line, we were social distancing,
Oh, okay.
but like you had to be next to the ice cream man. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
you
of
could have put it on
course.
the counter and then you go up and like pick it up, maybe, you know. But like credit card and everything.
What'd you get?
We got 2 lemon chills. You know those like lemon chills that come in like a.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. He didn't have a okay, so I'm gonna throw
That's
this out
just-
there, and I don't want to hate on
an
I don't want to hate on my ice cream
extremely
guy.
basic boomer choice.
But look, hear me out. This guy, bless him for coming. Okay, like I appreciated it, and we enjoyed it. It was a good little snack. But he had like the most limited selection. He had like 12 things on there, and 3 of them were like different types of banana splits, which I'm not really looking for when I go to my ice cream guy, you know. And then like another 3 or 4 choices were different types of hot fudge sundaes with cherry toppings.
No,
Again,
like Ninja Turtle heads or Sonic or anything.
none of the Ninja Turtle stuff, none of the like Flintstone pop-ups, like any of the, you know, the anything with gumballs in it, like nothing with gumballs in them. So it was super limited. It was like, you know, you could have a chocolate fudge bar, like ice cream cones. He had a lot of ice cream stuff, but
So he got stuff
Again-
that he could still get from stores because I'm sure his suppliers are not delivering. So he's probably going to clean out stores for
but
their.
that's like all he had on the printout too. So I guess unless he made a custom printout for the coronavirus.
Yeah, maybe he's
Like,
the
that might-
boomer ice cream. He's the ice cream man for the average day
Yeah.
boomer.
Again, I was happy he came. I enjoyed it.
Lemon chills are very overrated.
You know,
Have you ever
Also,
actually
look.
finished a full-on lemon chill?
also like I ate half of it and I put it back in the freezer.
Ex-
I'll go back to it, right?
Yeah.
No, but on a day like today,
Or is
it was like gorgeous.
first off, it
outside.
was like 95, 97 degrees. It was hot as hell.
You know, I love that heat.
I
This is
hate
why
it.
I've lived in Texas for 34 years now, you know.
Well, you can
so-
ask my wife. I immediately was like, we got to get someone out here to look at the windows. The heat is getting in somewhere. It's getting in somewhere. I need my house on lockdown. No AC is leaving. No, so it's hot, man. It's hot. But you know what's also hot, Anuj? Valorant. It is captivating the world, breaking Twitch records, breaking Mixer records. I think I read somewhere like 10,000 people were watching a stream on Mixer. So that broke like all of their records there. It is truly, I do not remember in most recent, like Overwatch, right? But I don't remember Overwatch being so hyped. I mean, I remember people being excited to get into the beta because much like Valorant, very closed and very exclusive. They kind of did the same thing with Overwatch, where now Valorant's at least like, hey, if you're media or someone, hit us up and maybe you can get in, we can squeeze you in. But Overwatch did the whole BS where they're like, no, this is 100% random, guys. We also just shipped goodie boxes to people on Twitch, but 100%
They
random.
happened again, and we made a goodie box right after.
Yeah,
No,
don't
different games, right? Like anytime it's a FPS, it's kind of in a world of its own. FPSs are just so big, and Overwatch is not like a true traditional FPS, right? So the hype behind this, along with the name Riot and a 5v5 competitive shooter, like
Yep.
that does a lot. That's like already we know that's a very popular genre, right? We see it in CS:GO. So
well,
we
and
know
this
there's
is
a lot
also
of
Riot's
carryover.
first venture into an original game outside of League of Legends. Like I know they have
Yeah.
the card game and they have.
What was League a copy of, Tim? That was original.
Well, you know what? I guess now that you say that, I guess it's not a coincidence. Valorant is also a copy of a game, but with a few twists and turns here. But it was for Riot. It's their first venture leaving the League of Legends bubble, right? Because even TFT and their card game has it's League of Legends pulled
Yeah.
from it, right? So this is their first venture
It's
into
like
a
it's
game.
its own IP. new
Yeah.
characters, like
Yeah, I don't know if
new lore.
yeah, I don't know the rules of what's an own IP. I would say it's an own IP, but I don't know. I don't know the rules. So I didn't want to say. So when was it? Man, it is only Wednesday, and this week has been such an emotional roller coaster. On Tuesday was the first day of beta. Now, you were lucky enough to get access whenever that was, the 3rd, on
Or
Friday.
whatever.
Yeah, so you got the original. You were in like the original 10,000 or whatever it was.
I felt very comfortable over the weekend. Like I
Yeah.
had no stress.
No
of
stress. Everyone else
it was
was
like, yeah,
getting their plans
sweating.
in order, packing their bags, just preparing for the worst. You were calm, cool, collected. Well, so was Nadeshot. Up until I would say probably what sounds like Monday at like 11:59 p.m. until he got the text from Riot saying, "Hey, bud, just so you know, when you go log in tomorrow, it's not going to let you. Sorry." Or it's not going to let you stream, right? He could play but not stream.
He could play, he just couldn't stream.
Couldn't stream. And this started what I am calling our brand new 100% original. Surely no one else will ever come up with something like this. It's our valoRANT segment, Anuj.
Wow.
It's going to be our
That's a stunner.
reoccurring segment where something happens in the Valorant world that we just need to rant about. I'm also co-calling this Nadeshot Gate, because this blew up for like 24 hours, was like the biggest talk of the town on Monday, because Nadeshot, for those everyone knows, right, started 100 Thieves, former Optic, former, just everything there, content creator, blah, blah, blah.
Content creator in between all that.
Yes, professional player. We know him. So he was playing with someone on stream, and they were like, "Hey, Nadeshot, what's got you down, buddy?" And then he goes, "Oh, I can't stream Valorant tomorrow." A number of other league owners, like League of Legends owners, have said that they're upset that I have access, and they think it's going to cause unfair advantage if I'm able to stream. And so that obviously caught the internet on fire, and everyone was jumping to Nadeshot's defense and saying how ridiculous it is. And I mean, really, wouldn't you say for like a day, for that Monday before the beta, that's all people were talking about?
Yeah, so he was streaming with Cloaksy, like really big Fortnite player. I'm going to say one thing real quick. I do think that conversation was slightly set up.
Oh,
like,
I
think he wanted this information
think it was set up
to like
that was
get out there.
100% set up.
Making sure, because like I didn't see that being talked about at all. But like that conversation was very like Cloaksy was like, "Come on, man! Like, what's wrong with you?" Like
Nadeshot was in there.
Just let it out.
Nadeshot texted Cloaksy saying, "Say it now. Say it. Ask me now."
Yeah, because
now.
like Nadeshot's also smart enough to know that Cloaksy has a massive audience.
Yeah.
Like whatever you're about to say is about to be blown out to the public. So I just want to throw that out there. This conversation I feel like was like tailored to come out, to put him in the public eye, and it gave him a lot of positive feedback. Right. I do think it was overblown. Like he is a content creator, and I understand there's two sides to what he's doing, but I do feel like it was a little like, was it really that big? Was it going to make that much of a difference? There's already teams that are signed out there. There's already players that are like signed to teams. 100 Thieves doesn't have anybody on the roster, and
hell,
trust me,
T1 signed Brax
people
like a month ago to be their professional FPS player. Well, gee, I wonder what game he's going to play for them.
Yeah, like, I mean, and if he wants to go get people, he can go get people, right? The brand is big enough to allow him to do that. Like, if he wants people, he can go get them right now. It wasn't going to happen because of that one stream that he was going to do.
Like, if he wanted to woo a player over, and they're like, "Man, I don't know. Do you think he's going to be like, guess what? I can stream." Okay.
Who do you think told? Like, or who do you think complained the most?
I don't know. It was kind of stretched across the board from what I heard. I think it was mainly EU guys because like they apparently EU didn't get as many invites. I don't know. Here's my thing though. And I understand. I think it was blown out of proportion on both sides though, right? Like I feel like I can almost, like I'm playing devil's advocate to myself because I'm arguing with myself on this one. I can see from Nadeshot's perspective, especially like he probably legit found out like the day before, right? So he was probably super excited to play, and then they said you can't stream it. Now Nadeshot also knows, like, you mean I can't stream the most anticipated game the day everyone else will start streaming it? This sucks. Like, I'm missing a huge window of fans here. That's Nadeshot, the content creator. What I think people are also failing, though, to realize is Nadeshot is not just a content creator anymore. And I think Nadeshot has failed to recognize this. Nadeshot is two people. You have Nadeshot, the content creator, Nadeshot, the team owner. And even though it is ridiculous that other owners are trying to claim that he's going to have some strategic advantage when signing a roster because he was able to stream for one day, it's also just as ridiculous for him to be like, I can't stream for one day. I'm going to go scorch earth on every other single owner.
Give me an example, if you're able to, of what type of competitive advantage he could gain from that one day of stream.
I cannot think of an example. Maybe. No, I can't. I was going to say, and this is such a stretch, is like if he was playing with someone and then influenced them. But again, what player from a caliber that you would expect 100 Thieves to sign would be so easily swayed by playing with Nadeshot after one day that, say, Fnatic, I'm throwing a team out here, I don't know if it's been Fnatic, could then come in and be like, hey, we want to talk to you. And he's like, sorry, bro, I played with Nadeshot.
Yeah, like the only thing that I can even think of, again, is similar to your line of thought, is like forming some sort of bond, maybe not even influencing in that moment, but creating some sort of friendship from the stream, which is such a stupid thing. Listen to me say this.
Well, and Nadeshot has his crew. He's not reaching out to prospective free agents.
Same group. He's playing with Courage. He's playing with, Twitter gaming head, Ryan, and he's playing with his friends, the people that he's always played these games with, Doc and all these guys. So I thought it was a childish play, and I, again, it is what it is. They did it to Carlos as well, right, from G2. Yeah. It wasn't just a Nadeshot thing. Like, that's what it came out as, and that was the headline. But then Carlos also came out and said he was told he couldn't stream, and he's also he was asking if he could still play in the Twitch Rivals tournament, because he was invited to that initially, so they were trying to figure that situation out. But the whole thing was just overblown. Like, I'm really curious to who was the one pushing that button. Like, who was saying, hey, this, because it did come from a team. This wasn't Riot that wanted to do this. Like, for Riot, they would love Nadeshot to stream.
Right. It had to have came from of course. This is not from Riot. This was Riot then appeasing to the other owners, because originally Riot, and this was where it was, and this is where I kind of side very loosely, okay? People do not blow me up for this. I kind of side with the other owners, because Riot did tell them, hey, guys, you are not going to have access until the 8th. Right? All the owners are going to, this is what I've read. Riot told all the other owners that they will have access on the 8th. So as an owner, say you are just an owner, you're not a content creator, you're not Mr. Twitter, like,
you're
Carlos.
The millionaire that owns the team.
You just own the team. If all of a sudden then you see Carlos and Nadeshot getting access, you're going to go up to Riot and be like, yo, you said owners don't have access till the 8th. Well, why are these two owners having access? Are you showing special treatment? And then Riot is like, whoa, no. You're right. Sorry, our bad. Hey, Carlos, Nadeshot, sorry, you can't stream it.
Wouldn't it have just been easier to give everybody access on the 7th? What would that have mattered?
That's the $1 million question.
That
is the question everyone is
day one to promoting our biggest release.
Listen, if I paid you if I paid you millions of dollars to hold a League of Legends franchise spot, and I asked for a valoRANT key and you said no, I'd be like, really? Like I own a League of Legends team, guys. You're not gonna give me access to this? What is
to this closed beta?
to this closed beta for your other game? Riot treated it very awkwardly, and and that's why I don't think, like, I know Nadeshot was backpedaling towards the end of the day, saying like, "Hey, don't blame Riot. It's not their fault." It sort of is, though. When you break down, they should have just
because the easiest thing to do is been like, "Hey, everybody has access on the 7."
Yeah, either you go with the parent route, right? Either everyone has access or no one has access.
They really stood hard to that. You gotta watch a stream to get a key thing, huh? Like they really held on to that. They were even telling
owners, "Hey, you gotta watch a stream." Sorry, folks. No.
Tune into Summit, and maybe you'll get one.
Yeah, so that's I don't know. Like I said, I was on the fence. Yes, it's ridiculous that they even said anything about it, but I'm also not getting up in arms over Nadeshot not being able to stream for one day. Like, people were like super upset about that, and I was like, who cares? Like, I'm not gonna cry over Nadeshot not being able to stream for one day.
No, I mean his fan. I mean, I get it for his fan base, right? Like his followers, subscribers, all the people that do want to watch him. Nadeshot's still a bigger personality in the content creation scene than he is in like the ownership.
Which is how upset and defensive people were getting over it. I was like, guys.
Yeah, I think people were just doing that to cause a scene for him, right? Like, that's what he wanted, right? That's why he had that conversation publicly.
Well, he wanted to let the other owners know, hey, remember who I am. I'm not your typical owner. I'm Nadeshot. So again, I don't think,
like you said,
I
took
think
over
the owner that said something doesn't give a shit that he's a content creator. I truly think the ouner that probably reported him is not your standard esports owner, and he's more of a business owner. You know what I'm saying? And he couldn't care less about the content creator of Nadeshot.
Yeah, again, Riot could have fixed the whole issue, and again, that owner in particular that said it, a little whack in my opinion, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so there it is. There's the first of many valoRANT segments. So a lot of you were asking, and I, kind of spoiler alert ahead of time, but I did get in the beta. It was an emotionally draining Tuesday. I woke up at 7 to start watching it, and even like on our little text chat, I was like going up and down. I was like, man, I'm so excited to play.
Emotions were pretty all over the place in the last 24 hours for you.
I was like, I'm so excited to play. Oh, I can't wait to get a key. And then like 3 hours. This game, I don't care. This game sucks. This looks like crap. They can't even get their servers working. Who cares about this game? It's going to be a bust. And then I got in. And I remember I got the email before I got the notification on Twitch. And I like had a little squeal. My wife came running in, like, what's that noise? Are you okay? And I'm like, I got in. She's like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, I got in the beta. And she just rolled her eyes and walked away in disappointment.
Walked away. Yeah.
But I got in. So, and I know I said I wasn't going to play until every listener of TCR got in. I tried. I told Riot, hey, take this back. Give it to someone else. I don't want it. And they said, Tim, we need you. Our beta is falling apart. We need the #1 esports podcast. We need a Nugent you. And I was like, you know what?
Stability here.
Although not every listener has access, I am a man of the people, and I don't want to be the reason that this game fails. So yes, I'll hop on. I'll play the beta. I'll play your little game, Riot, and let it be a lesson. You can't keep me out. I never lost hope. I never lost discouraged. I fought for it, and I earned it. So we have been playing quite a bit. We played all what we could play yesterday. That did suck getting in and then being welcomed with an error code. And
like
then
right when we got on together. So I had been playing a little bit earlier, and Tim gets on, and then right when he gets on, error 7, no friends list. You can only solo queue. And that kind of sucked to start off with.
Yeah, I don't mind solo queuing, but yes, when everyone I was like, I want a game with my boys, and then it was like all of us were just queuing at the same time, hoping for the best, and obviously with like 100,000 people or however many people are in this closed beta, wasn't looking too good for us. So eventually, long story short, we did end up playing together. We played a few today with some listeners and us. So last week we went over our good, bad, and ugly by just watching, our first impressions from watching streams. Now we can we don't need to go through good, bad, ugly, but just general discussion. What did you think finally getting able to play the game?
At a first glance, really, really enjoying it for a handful of reasons. Biggest one is it does remind me of Counter-Strike. Like there are certain aspects that really do remind you of Counter-Strike, and it's nice in a new fluffed up game, right? So I'm taking what I've loved for 20 years in Counter-Strike in all of its forms and iterations, and not to say that Counter-Strike's gotten stale for me. We were still playing it last week, after all this time. But it is nice to have that new shiny object with a twist on it, but still enough of Counter-Strike. So we got that mix of FPS. We got some of the elements that we liked of Overwatch, but I didn't play a ton of Overwatch, right? I still don't play like a lot of Overwatch because I kind of just want to play like a DPS, shoot 'em, gun 'em hero. That's like what I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that here. Like it just feels good. Like the game feels fairly polished. There's some things would I like some things to be a little different? Yeah, and we can go into those. But overall, it feels like a fairly polished game. Like abilities work the way they're supposed to work. I feel like peaking and all that, like the 128 tick, like the game feels very nice. Graphically, it doesn't look bad. It's not like top end, you need a 2080 to run this, but I can run it very comfortably on my rig. And so just in again, the first 5 minutes of playing, I could kind of just like, hey, this feels good. This feels normal. It feels natural to play a game like this. So pretty happy right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have my disclaimer. When I played Overwatch for the first time in its closed beta, because yes, I was in the Overwatch closed beta as well. Again, can't keep me out. I hated it. And I might have even talked about it on the show when the game first came out. I definitely knew I talked about it with friends that I was like, this game sucks. This Overwatch game that people were excited about is trash. It sucks. And now, I played it for 3 years before finally giving up on it thanks to the shield meta. And so I come back around to Valorant with, I am enjoying the game. I'm not head over heels with it. There are frustrating parts about it for me, but I am having fun playing it. I will say, for me personally, I'm having issues wrapping my brain around the pace of it. I think it's because my brain is telling me I need to be running and gunning like in Overwatch, like where you're not worried about bomb sites or anything. You're just worried about going for, whatever, right? And then like Counter-Strike, where I feel like you do move faster. Like everything in Counter-Strike, oddly enough, is a little faster. Like just pulling out your guns. Sometimes like in Valorant, like you I swear to God, every time if I'm playing Brigade?
Yeah, something like that. Brigade.
Every time I pull out my little armband thing to pull out smokes, I get shot in the face. Like it doesn't fail. If I'm about to pull out my ability, I'm going to get shot in the face by some dude just Need for Speed Tokyo drifting around the corner, popping me in the head while running. I swear to God, I've never been more one-tapped in my face more in my life than out of like the 10 matches of Valorant I have played.
See, and I guess we've just had really different experiences so far to it, right? Because I've actually I'm happy about this. I've done really well in the game so far for my like normal standards, right? Like I've had plus 10 on 95% of my matches and MVPs on most of my games that I've played in, and that's been like really nice, right? So I've enjoyed it like in a different way. I think where you're gonna have your issue only is if you play it more like Overwatch than you do Counter-Strike. I think the game really needs to be played very tactically like Counter-Strike.
But even then, like I'm sitting around the corner. People don't miss in this game.
Headshots do seem fairly frequent in this game. And I don't know if it's like I don't know why. I feel like you could just pop heads and it feels really if you're a good aimer, like that's you could be
I
really
think
deadly.
I think the headshot hit box is a little forgiving.
Yeah, and it's weird because if you go into the practice modes, for example, and you go hit the dummies on there, I mess with like the head hit
Yeah.
boxes, and it's like really true to the head. But like in the game, I feel like I get so many headshots, and I'm like, oh wow, like I get a lot of headshots in this game, you know. And so again, I think the game for things that have surprised me a little bit is how much you get to use your ultimate. When we originally talked on the show, I was like, oh, you're probably going to use it 2 to 3 times a game tops, and if you got it 3 times, that's probably a really good game. Well, that's kind of false. Like, I mean, I've been able to get it 5, 6 times in a game, especially if you're able to zone out like the ultimate, or you're the guy running with the bomb, you always get a point that way. Like you could really build up, and if you're getting a lot of kills, right? Like if you're getting a lot of kills, you're also gonna accumulate your ultimate a lot. So the ultimate, I feel like is I'm using it quite often, and that's not a bad thing right now. We'll find out how it works in like the pro level,
Right.
but in the pug style that we're playing, um, again, like I think that's been my biggest thing in terms of character differential, like again from just what we thought it would be. I use my abilities more than I like thought I would. Like they're nicely put together. Like, does any class feel overpowered to you right now? Like, I know there's some that are more annoying than
I was
others,
gonna
but does
say,
anybody
I
feel
mean,
like
not completely overpowered. I will still say my suspicion of Poison Ivy. What's her name? Smoky Girl?
Dude, you're complete a Viper.
Viper.
Completely threw me off with that.
Her
'Cause it sounds
clout,
right.
I still think is a little much. In the sense of when she's in it and she sees your red outline of your pinky toe and just obliterates you when you go in, I think it's a bit much. I also, my suspicion of Camera Boy,
A Cypher.
Cypher, the fact that he is the most annoying human possible, like
Dude, a person that's good with Cypher on a highly competitive level will be deadly.
he will
Will
be
be
so annoying.
absolutely deadly because he is a very annoying character and he's able to capture so much information. And these types of competitive 5v5 type, like the way this game is going to be built, it gathering information on how they're
Yeah.
rotating or where they're at is like huge.
And it's not like a one size fits all though, because we've had teammates. Our teammate yesterday for Cypher, I swear to God, didn't pick up anyone. Like, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
No.
it is about placement. Like, I guess there is some knowledge of the maps and choke points on where to put your stuff.
We saw that one guy place it behind the wall over
So you
there, and it
couldn't
made such
shoot
a
it?
big difference. But our guy was putting it on the door. So, like, those two players had.
At like eye level. Like, guys,
Yeah.
put it at their feet. Like, stop it.
Yeah.
So,
No.
like I said, I am enjoying the game, but it's not like immune from the flaws. I think I like I said, the pace of it to me, and I say off, that doesn't mean like it's a bad thing. I'm used to Counter-Strike pacing. And in
It's
this
slower. It's like it's a lot like every hit also feels like what's it called? Aim punch, right? So like every time you get hit in Counter-Strike, if you have armor and you get hit, you can kind of continue with your speed, not at the same speed, but you don't like completely dead stop unless you're without
So I
armor.
almost also
And
feel like it's difficult to know if I got shot with some fights though. Like some fights I feel like I wasn't touched and then I look and I have 30 HP and I'm like, what?
yeah, maybe like who knows, the abilities or
Yeah.
mollies or whatever that's possibly, but yeah, like the movement, the pace is slower. What kind of makes up for it is I think a little bit is that I do like this beginning buy system, the way that they've done it, and that you're not static in spawn for like the first 20 plus seconds of the match, and that you are setting up and engagements can happen within 5 to 7 seconds of a round starting. Engagements can kind of pop off real quick. I like that. It keeps the game interesting. And then if there are slow moments, it can be because of these long, like, you know, maybe going through a portal on some maps that they have it. You can do like quick rotates and all that. But I like how the action can be instant. And that the buy time allows you to kind of set up a little bit. Like I think that was a good idea. I wouldn't have maybe like pushed that if I was a developer, right? Like,
Mhm.
ooh, everyone's moving around at the beginning of the round. I don't know. Like I kind of like the stay and spawn, but this feels good. I like the way that that's done.
I could live without the portals.
As long as
Um,
it's not every map.
yeah.
So far, it's one
Yeah.
out of the three, and I know there's
You
only
know, I
one
still
more
haven't
map.
played the one map with ropes.
Oh, really?
I have
That's a good.
never. I was watching someone on stream and I was like, wait a minute.
Haven't seen that
I've never
before.
played that map before.
Yeah.
So I haven't even played all the maps. Not to say I haven't been playing a lot. It's just, I swear to God, it's like I just get the 2 maps over and over and over again. Yeah, and it's, I don't want to judge the maps because we haven't 5 stacked. So you just, and we haven't played other people. Again, I also think I'm just at such an elite skill where, you know, like when you're playing against new people to the game and they'll just kind of do good because they're not playing like how you would expect someone to play, right?
Yeah.
That's where where I feel like maybe 30-40% of my frustration is from that, because people hold W in this game like there's no tomorrow. They just go. You're like, oh, he won't peak. Oh, he re-peaked. What? Why? Why would
It's
you
like, oh,
peak there? Or
his
why?
smokes are down. He's not going to go through
Yeah.
it.
Oh, they planted for showers. He must be in showers. Let me look. Oh no, he's behind the bomb site. Like, why? There was no strategical value of you being there. Like, and I know it's not like he did some heads up play to trick me. So I am having fun with the game. That doesn't mean I'm not frustrated with it. I just have to learn. Again, I think some people adapt quicker than others, but I know, you know, I don't smoke. I don't drink. I donate money when I can. You know, you're probably thinking, Tim, you're like the perfect human being. And I'd say, yes, you're right. But I do have my vices. One of my vices is I get tilted playing video games. You know, I yell and swear a lot while playing games. That doesn't mean I'm not having a good time. But I also don't think you can just, the excuse to be like, well, it's in beta. Like, yes, exactly, it's in beta. Meaning I can bitch about certain things and suggest that they maybe tweak it a little bit. That's the whole point of this.
I wonder how much they will tweak before it comes out from what we're playing right now. I am pretty curious to
You're
see how
probably going to
like
see more just character tweaks rather than oh, I think everyone just walks too slow, right? Okay, well, let's bump up the walking speed. I don't think you'll see that, but
I don't even think you'll see like any changes to the weapons. Like they've been testing this for so long, and all of a
yeah.
sudden, like, oh, let's lower the AK damage a little bit and make that a non-relevant. Like
Again, everything,
I
like
think,
the headshots are just so relevant. I don't even see the reason to change damage because you just get
yeah.
one tapped by everything
Well, like
anyways.
there's like damage ranges and all that, and maybe they do
But that's
some
only with the
tweaking there, but
M4. Or,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Not the M4, but
But it's like I again, I feel like overall it's pretty polished, and this is the way they designed it. Like the movement speed and all that we've discussed, that we would like that to feel a little bit more like CS. I think all of this is like so strategically planned that we probably see very few changes, if any, from like kind of what we're playing right now. Like they'll find glitches, right? What they're
yeah.
looking for, are like glitches, like things that people
And
can
I have
cheat
ran
use.
into some of those. You know, like I
Yeah,
said, like the door that opens at teleporter, that was definitely glitched for me yesterday. I've had some issues when trying to plant the spike. Like it will get kind of locked up and I can't switch guns, and it just constantly, like, it will plant even though I'm telling it not to plant. So it's, you know, there's some glitches here and there. I'm having fun. Definitely some things I would like to see changed, but overall, I also think it's just me having to get used to that it's not Counter-Strike.
they did say they're coming. There's going to be 12 characters at launch, and we're only getting to see like I think 9 of them right now in the beta. So it's nice to see that. You know, one of the things we talked about with Apex so much. You know, why didn't Apex kind of like continue doing what it was doing? And as I felt like it was really slow with just releasing content to people. You had 6 or 7 characters at launch, maybe 8 if I'm not mistaken. You didn't have a lot. These guys are coming out with 12. Hopefully that that's like a trend that continues, but it is nice to see like already like from what they
Right.
initially thought it was going to be 10, now it's going to be 12.
I think you will though, because I mean, again, it's Riot, right? They know the formula. They know what works for a free to play game. I mean, if not only just from being League of Legends, but just how much more prevalent free to plays are nowadays, and seeing how they work, right? Like with Fortnite and things like that. They have so many other examples to pull from of how to keep your free to play game interesting. I think I don't know how many characters you'll see, but you'll definitely at least see like updates and maps and like whatever. But
This game will be crazy if they actually do get it to a point where it's not like League of Legends in the sense maybe 100+ characters, but even like 40, 50, or think like Overwatch, even size in terms of character pools. Like,
yeah, but you know
Yeah.
what? Be careful what you wish for, because that's what ended up killing Overwatch, right? Is they kept adding characters, and every other character would have shields. And
I think as long as the core concept stays the way it is, like in the
FPS
sense of
first.
it's an FPS first, and these abilities are different forms of utility, right? Like more characters with a weird, a smoke that you can maybe throw over stuff. I don't know, like they could do random crap like that,
Yeah.
but keep it as more utility based. But it again, yeah, I mean, so far, Tim, I've 2 thumbs up on my end,
I'll give 1 thumbs up.
1.5.
1.5.
That's like 50%.
I will say this,
You
too.
would give it a grade of 50 right now, out of 100. If this was like a test, you just like went into this valoRANT closed beta test, you came out and you scored it failing.
No, it's not a fail.
Failing is 50%. Got 2
But if
thumbs.
your
You're only giving
scale
it
is
1.
50 or 100, if 1 thumb is 100%, or if
See, now
50,
you're doing an injustice to people with nubs.
so well, they have the advantage, right? They have more room to play with.
Or less, technically.
I will say this though, let's not trick up maps too much. As we try to develop more maps, I don't need teleporters and launch pads, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
let's leave it at teleporters.
It is nice in terms of how simplistic it is, right? Like if trying to spot people in a game is very easy to do.
Yeah.
Like you talk about like Call of Duty, right? Playing COD. Sometimes trying to
Some
spot
of the angles
somebody
are a
in
tad
COD.
wonky though. Like we've discovered that one place in Shower that you cannot see them.
But that's a peak corner, right? Yeah, that's a weird spot on the map. But in terms of visibility, just tracking somebody running across a back wall, or if they're in the open, like everyone is very easily visible, and I kind of like appreciate that as an older gamer.
So Anuj, let's change gears here real quick then, because we talked about the game itself, but let's look into the future. That's not it. That one. I should probably just delete the laugh track, considering I accidentally hit it every time. But let's look into the future here, Anuj, as we are seeing more and more players and teams being announced. We've already seen players being signed. We are 2 days into the less closed beta. It's still closed, but it's less closed now than what it was on the 3rd when it was like exclusive, right? We're already seeing players getting signed. So quickly, where are our mindsets then as an esport? I will say, from a spectator's, obviously everything's waiting to see how the observation tools and all that work. But I mean, I don't see how this doesn't work as a top esport.
It's gonna kill it in my mind as an esport, and it's important to like maybe emphasize where I don't think it's necessarily like we talk about Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's the biggest competitor to this game. I also don't think it's gonna affect Counter-Strike numbers drastically.
You can have. I mean, look at what people were doing to get into the beta, right? They were watching 50 different streams, even though you didn't have to. You were watching 50 streams. Well, why do people think that's not applied when it comes to your top esport, right? Why do you have to choose? No, I'm going to be a Counter-Strike fan. I want to be a Valorant fan. No, you can do both. You can watch both. And you know what? We haven't even hit their secret weapon yet, which is the Asian market. Right?
It's going to pull better numbers stream-wise than Counter-Strike. for sure early on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind early on. The
Well, and
numbers
even
are
then,
going to
like
be
Counter-Strike has kind of died off in the sense of streamers.
no. I'm not even talking about in esports.
Oh, in
So
esports,
the
wise.
first Valorant match, T1 versus NIP. That match is going to pull numbers similar to the major on day
Yeah.
one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, like it's going
Definitely.
to be insane. There's going to be it's going to do very well. So I want to talk about this in two different ways, right? You have Overwatch League. When Overwatch League first came out, the numbers were outstanding when they launched, right? When like the league first came out, the numbers were like through the roof in viewership. And then now it became like it stayed good, but it stayed consistent, right? Like 30, 40, 50K for a long time there. I think this will, because of the Asian market, um, because of Riot, because of fans coming in from Overwatch, Counter Strike, and even to some extent League of Legends, right? Like a lot of these people are interested in playing and trying this game. I think you're going to see some very, very like lucrative numbers for what this is pulling in. Look at what it's doing for just the beta, Tim. Just to get into the beta, Twitch is breaking single day records. It hit like 1.3 million. A streamer like Summit was pulling in 300,000 views when I think his previous high before Valorant. Think about this. Summit, one of the biggest streamers of all time. I think his biggest previous high was in the 120s, 150s. Um, before, the Valorant hype, granted, adding the beta drops enabled to your stream, adding the
It
coronavirus,
helps.
like those things are
It
going to
was the
be
perfect storm.
it really was, but still like just an insane number. Like 300,000 you know kill for events, let
Yeah.
alone an individual streamer. Um but the game I think is built really well for esports. Like a 5v5 competitive shooter is a proven winner if you find the right formula, right? But
Yeah.
we know people are interested in that type of game. I believe the mix of abilities and shooting are going to like transition well. Like it's going to be visually appealing and it'll captivate different audience. So I have no reason to believe that this is not going to be a really, really big esport. I do have reason to believe that, although I don't think this will affect Counter Strike, I do think it'll affect Overwatch. Um, I think Overwatch right now should be in a state of worry, although we haven't seen a big name jump, right? Like Taimu might be like probably the biggest one in terms of people that have talked, and he's not even consistently playing.
I mean,
So
he's not even on a Overwatch League team.
now he's not, right? But
Yeah.
like in the sense of the people that have gone have been mainly from contenders. Makes sense. Don't blame them. They should. If you're DPS and contenders, you should probably get into Valorant immediately. If you're not and you're listening, um, but I think Overwatch needs Overwatch 2 a little bit more than people think. Like it needs a facelift. It needs something fresh because I believe that Valorant truly could be somewhat of a killer um to Overwatch, just because if you're not building up your contenders and you're not having these new pros wanting to come into your game, it might not hurt Overwatch this year, might not even hurt them next year. But beyond that, it could start to be really worrisome if you don't have an up and coming future like group of gamers coming in to take over. And that's where I think Valorant could really stunt their growth. And so I think Overwatch 2, even if it's not drastically different, I think a facelift is just going to be good. Like you need a way to get your audience um back and invigorated into your game.
On your pros,
Your
nonetheless, right?
pros, yeah,
It's
like
like you said.
Sinatra and
I
these
think what
guys.
what it is it's going to hurt the pipeline, like you said, the younger or just the people looking to go pro, the guys who are wanting to put in the time and the grind and the effort to put in. Well, are you really going to want to put into all that to then be on a contenders team that makes no money and has, a 98% chance that it's not going to be around next year?
And no
Or,
support from the league,
yeah,
more
yeah,
importantly, right?
yeah.
Most importantly, like you don't see your league saying, "Hey, we're trying to find a way to either expand the league to get you all in or really keep you at least interested in being where you are at, right? Like nobody wants to be in contenders. They're only doing it with the hopes of being in the big show sooner rather than later.
Hmm.
And this is not a 18, 20-year-old baseball player working his way through a farm system that could take 5, 6 years, right? Like these are 18-year-old kids that are really good at video games, and there's always going to be a new game. So that's why it's like really
And,
different.
as our younger audience might not want to hear this or don't believe me, because when I was your age, believe me, I wouldn't have believed me either. Eventually, you turn that corner and you do have to grow up. And it's either you are a pro gamer at that point or you're not, and you have to get a job. You have to support your life. And what are your hopes and dreams for going in the future, right? When you finally swallow that pill at 19, 20 years old, I'm sure you can get away with going a little longer now than what we could have knew, just because the availability is so greater now. But eventually, right, you do have to turn that corner. And how long do you want to grind on a game like Overwatch, or as we saw today, an entire roster of Paladin pros switch over? I mean, Paladins, we've even mentioned this on the episode before. Games like that, they're done when it comes to
They're not
Valorant.
Paladins, in my mind, was just surviving because Paladins, the company, was pumping money into like keeping these people playing the game. It's going to be too hard for some of these games to survive. There's like only so much. Um, there's really only so much real estate. You can have 10 great games, but doesn't mean they're all going to be like great esports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, Valorant is going to take a lot of players because there's going to be a lot of right now until there's a franchise model in Valorant. There's going to be so many willing teams out there.
You know what Valorant right now has for younger guys, or I'll call them pipeline players? There's hope, right? It is venturing into the unknown that you are all theoretically starting from the same starting line. This is why Nadeshot had to wait a day, because God forbid if he did stream, everyone would be joining 100 Thieves. As everyone is technically starting at the same starting line. You have that chance to get into those early tournaments before the smaller man gets pushed aside, like we've seen in Overwatch and Call of Duty. And, he's somewhat now even in Counter-Strike, right? As the leagues are popping up and you're not seeing those feeder systems as much now. So you do get a lot of these people who are either pipeline players or ex-pros or current pros that just aren't on a roster at the moment. They're seeing hope, and as a professional gamer, that's all you need. Like, because what's the big deal? They go back here, this doesn't work, and then they go back to their other game, or they join a contenders for Valorant, whatever the hell they're gonna call it.
What is a contenders player making? Salary.
Oh God, I wouldn't even be able to get. I mean, some of them probably none. Tournament winnings, stream money, what
Next to nothing.
Yeah.
If you are any good at Valorant and you're Joe Schmo team owner, not one of the biggest teams. Let's use E United as an example. E United's a big team. Okay, so E United is not a small team. Definitely on the bigger end, but they're not the biggest, right? They're not they're not in any of the franchise leagues. So they're like one of the big teams right outside on the edge looking in.
Right.
So for E United, how smart would it be to sign a potential lineup that is really good at this game, right? Might be one of the best, but right now you don't know, right? So you can take a look at the landscape and find 3 or 4 really good players and hopefully build around them, sign them to your roster with one of two things potentially being your company's saving grace. One, you might find a way to get a league slot, right? You have one of the best teams. Riot really does maybe have a fair process for getting a league slot, and maybe they get some funding because, hey, this guy's got the best team in one of the biggest trending esports right now. Or number two, you sign some really good players, you have some crazy buyouts on them, you don't get into the league, and now teams are kind of at your bidding to get some of these players to sign over, and you make a fancy little payout that way. Maybe not that. Maybe that has to be done in a proper way. I don't know how legally all that works, but
Well, and
I'm sure
again,
that's the thought process
for
behind a
like
lot of this.
those orgs, like how you were saying, like United, this is a chance for them to get in early and make a name for themselves to a group of people. Like, look at Envy and Overwatch, right? Envy, although like we knew them from Counter-Strike and you had people knowing them for Call of Duty, I would think the crowd that was super into Overwatch was not super into Call of Duty, or the French scene for Counter-Strike. And I would almost even say at that point in time, that's when that whole French shuffle kept going on. So they weren't even at peak Envy at that point. Well, they completely brought in a whole new fan base to their brand and made a name for themselves as being one of the top Overwatch talent out there, and still is to this day, because when the league started, people remember Envy. You know, they remember, man, do you remember the team Envy had? So, yeah, for these guys, I mean, we saw Nip. They ended up signing, I think, for the majority of their Paladins roster over and just moved them over to Valorant.
You know, so good for those players, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind that you're already seeing signings. The one that I can understand is maybe Brax, right? Because you get this huge talent, you get a big name.
Even though they still
Even
haven't
if he
officially announced him yet.
Yeah, whatever.
They announced
So,
T1 announced AZK.
But they announced Brax as a professional player for T1, just
Right.
not for Valorant, right?
Right.
So whatever, he's a Valorant pro. And then they go and sign AZK. Now AZK is a much different, much more interesting signing, because AZK, along for those of you that don't know, obviously part of the I Buy Power. Great, we get to put it in the liner or subject line again today. But part of the I Buy Power crew that was permanently banned, right? He's kind of the one that's not talked about a ton, although this is now third game he's pro in. So maybe the most successful out of the group in that sense. Obviously, Skadoodle got a major, but it wasn't banned. Maybe doesn't. But AZK went pro in Overwatch. Now he is pro in Valorant. That's a Brax sign. Like that's not, in my mind, the smartest signing for the organization, though. There is no way you can tell me that you know, AZK is one of the best players in Valorant currently. It's way too early, because he wasn't able to really fully maximize being one of the best players in Overwatch.
Do you think there's any rush to this? Because I agree with you. I think it's idiotic to sign players to a team right now. I think it's dumb that they're going to host tournaments probably while in beta still. I think it's ridiculous.
The tournaments is fine if it's just like groups like playing together, because it's an easy way to evaluate talent, right? Like you got to find a way to evaluate the best players, generally the best players or biggest influence. Well, but take them out of the equation.
But I wonder, like, signing a guy
participate.
now, if orgs are thinking this is going to be the cheapest his asking price will ever be.
I mean, it just, again, Brax, I get a little bit more. I do understand Brax because he brings like North American fan base. Like you are now, NA's number one team is now T1 already by signing that one player. They are NA's number one most popular team, because nobody else has signed a team so far. And you took a personality that's kind of beloved by everyone in CSGO.
Yeah.
Nobody does not like Brax, right? So I get that one. It's more like the AZK signing. Like if you're telling me that you know he's like good enough to be on a team day one into the beta, like you feel confident that early through a small family and friends play session that he's, you know, one of the best. Maybe he'll turn out to be. I guess I'm just like really skeptical. If you want me to like take you that serious, man, that must be one hell of a scouting department to identify somebody like that. So I'm really curious to see how that turns out. I think it's super early for him to be signed in particular. But look, I mean, maybe in the play test, he was the best every single time. But I don't hear anybody saying that.
And this is, I think, part of the strategy for when we make fun of the guys who announce on Twitter or put in their Twitter profile that, hey, I am now officially retiring from, you know, insert game, and I am now officially a Valorant free agent, where a lot of those players are also kind of irrelevant in their own game, right? Like they're kind of, you have like second tier players in Counter-Strike that are announcing that, hey, I am now going to be focusing on Valorant, where I think that's all fine and dandy, but what are the odds that those players can switch right over to Valorant and instantly, like, all of a sudden become a top tier player? Or will eventually they will look top tier to start, and then all of a sudden it will quickly drop off when the big boys come?
Well, now AZK shows you the benefit of doing that. The benefit of doing what Sub Rosa is doing right now is your name is really big. You are not going to have much competition in terms of CS:GO pros converting over, right? So you're one of the more talented players from Counter-Strike that has made the move, if not the most talented as of right now. So you could get signed to a roster. I mean, that's what's
Yeah.
ultimately looking to happen, right? It happened for AZK. If AZK can get signed to a roster, Sub Rosa is a fantastic Counter-Strike player. Like, there's no reason he shouldn't be able to come in here and tear it up. There's rumors of Mixwell, like Mixwell potentially
Yep.
making the switch. He said he hasn't 100% like, said he's doing it.
That's what
but
I
he's-
hope, though. I think it would be awesome to see Mixwell out of the Counter-Strike scene, just because that dude has been.
I just want to see something good happen to him.
Yeah,
I don't care where
not, like
at.
he's not been wronged. It's just he has gotten the short end of every stick he could possibly find.
He's gotten wrong though, it feels like. I mean, if I were him, I would be salty as shit, dude. Like every team you've gone on to, something has happened. Like something drastic
out of your
major.
control. It's
Yeah.
just sorry, dude. Can't happen now. So
You join a team and Hex is like, I sold you. Like, I mean, that's crazy.
and Cloud9 had him for like 2 minutes just to move back and then say, sorry.
We're gonna take this full roster.
Yeah.
Even the Paladin guys, like, how the hell do you know that they're gonna be any like maybe that was just an easy way to get out of Paladins. And like
Yeah.
they're like, okay, sure, we'll call you our Valorant team until we really find our Valorant team. But how the hell do you know they're gonna be one of the best? Like that stuff blows my mind 24 hours in. We said it was going to happen. I don't know why it shocks me, but still, it's like it's so damn early. So I'm waiting to see who this might be a great payoff for T1 and they're building something fabulous. I would love to see them now go sign Ska, Steel, and Daze. They could to really round it out.
Mhm.
But we'll see what they do.
Days ain't playing. Days lost the fire. He
And
lost
Days is
that. He
done.
lost that fight.
Can you imagine though if they sign Ska next? Dude, that would be something. Now they're onto something. Like
Well,
if they start doing that,
That's where
and they're
I'm
like-
more interested in is pulling out these retired players. Like Shroud ain't doing it, his streaming,
No.
but even Ska's got a pretty nice streaming setup. Man, I don't think so. Now that I say that out loud, when you become a streamer and you can make a living doing that, why would you? Why would you go back to that grind?
It just depends on how competitive he is, right? Like Ska, to the outside person, and we met him several times. Like not very talkative. You don't know how hard. You can't see his work ethic in him because he
You
shows no
wouldn't
emotion.
know he has a pulse.
Yeah, so like it's not to say that he's not one of the hardest workers in the scene. It's just you look at him and he's like the most laid back and just kind of not there. It seems like when everybody else is present type situation. But if he's got this crazy competitive tick to him and a new game is out and hey, your two buddies like got signed and you kind of like, hey, might not be the best in the world, but this could be a fun little ride. He could do even better in his streaming career. Like your streaming career could just be getting started if you're Ska
True.
and you go on to T1 and now your fan base is like multiplying and the IVP guys are getting back together. Like this could be a huge thing if he really wants to be a lifelong streamer.
I think it'd be cool to see guys like Hiko, right? I was watching him during the Twitch Rival tournament before that crashed and burned, and those are the guys
all
that
complexity guys.
Yeah,
playing.
yeah. The guys that have pretty much made their roundabout through NA Counter-Strike, and it's just there's not really a home for them right now because it's too difficult to just break into Counter-Strike with a new team. Unless you're getting signed by like the big dogs for NA, you're not really getting signed anymore just because not being in the leagues are kind of hurting that. Or you've already just been there. So I think like guys like Hiko, who
What about Scream?
Scream,
Nothing.
Yeah, because he's always kind of
Nothing's
unofficially
like,
retired.
streaming career.
Who's the guy?
Like,
Shazam.
obviously, it's really good.
Like
but it's like,
Shazam, I
oh,
could see, you know,
Peter, although they're in ESL and do it, but like,
yeah.
yeah, people that have kind of had to run around a little bit, right? Like
Keo.
if you can't think of one team as their main team, they're probably a good fit to come over
Right,
here.
like Keo.
Right?
Keo would
Yeah, Keo would
definitely
be great.
move over.
It would be great.
I think he'd
What
be
about something
great.
like, Happy, who's not on a top tier team anymore? He could go in an IGL and learn this game. And now, again, we're naming all these Counter-Strike people, guys, because like Counter-Strike players, after playing this game, are going to be very good at this game.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be very good. Now, there will be eventually a curve that we see here where the players that are not only just good at aiming, but have mastered characters can outweigh somebody maybe who is just a really good raw
and I think that's
aimer.
where guys like Taimu will come into play. You have older, I say older in the sense of they're not really relevant anymore in Overwatch League side of it. Like Flower, they kind of gave him the shaft.
Dream Casper.
Maybe hasn't been banned in this one yet. I don't even know. He might have got arrested. I never followed up on that story.
He should be in jail.
Yeah, he should be. Pine though from NYXL. You'll notice all these guys from Overwatch League. AKM. I think if AKM had the choice, he would probably go over to Valorant. But all these guys in Overwatch are DPS players, former DPS players that were almost like your star running back, where they were hot for half a season, for one season, and then just completely the meta changed and you abandon them. So these guys here, I could see making that switch over. Now, I don't think you're going to see guys like Sinatra move over on the DPS
They're too popular.
side. They're too popular.
Right,
they're getting paid well enough.
Right now.
Yeah, they don't need Valorant. Unless he is truly just sick of Overwatch. But I just don't see, if you're making the money and if you're still having fun playing with your boys, I don't see you moving over on a professional level.
Sinatra was in Super were like on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
They're living a but
you're winning World Cups.
They are the 1% of the 1%. Okay, so it's important to note that too. Like, we talk about Super and Sinatra. Well, they're the best of the best in their game. There are 30 other people, 40, 50 other people on other teams that are very good DPS players that may be feeling a little different today, right? They may be really excited. The thing is, you don't know. We didn't see a ton of announcements from big people right now because they haven't had a chance to play the game. When you play the game, if your excitement level, you know how we are, we're addictive personalities as gamers. A lot of us are. And if they touch on one of these games and it feels really good and it feels really natural, and the most important thing, you start having fun, then it's, you might see more people flip over. Like they're enjoying this game, playing this game significantly more than they're enjoying playing their current game. That's when you might see the switch, because it's too hard to play a game that you're not enjoying playing for that long. It burns you out. It happens to streamers all the time, happens to esports, professionals all the time. Like you have to truly love and enjoy that craft because of the amount of time you are in the server. And so that's why I think Overwatch 2 is so important for the growth of that game, because they need to give people a reason to be excited again. Right now, people are almost just going through the motions, right? There is a hardcore fan base. I understand that. We go to these home stands and they're crazy. They're sold out. They're some of the most fun events we go to. But that's not
what we're talking about. We're not talking about, this is going to pull over the hardcore fans. I don't think any developer is worried about losing their hardcore fans. You still have, like in Paladins, you had the people who will still swear up and down it was a better game than Overwatch, but that's such a small percentage and their hardcore fans were so much smaller, it just never really picked up. You're going to have those. Like we said earlier, it's not only your fan side, right? It's the kind of the more on the edge, but it's the pipeline players. It's everyone below the surface kind of holding the support beams up. Those are the ones that you got to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
So, and again, I don't think this is going to kill anything. I don't think it's going to kill Overwatch. I don't think it's going to well, I mean, it's going to kill Paladins, but it's not going to kill Overwatch League. It's not going to kill Counter-Strike, but I do think it's going to shake it up to where you will see big names from both sides in Valorant at one point in time.
I think with Counter-Strike, what it'll do is it'll force Valve to put a little bit more effort into their game. I think that's what it does for Counter-Strike. I think this is actually only going to benefit Counter-Strike. I think we'll get some sort of proper real ranking system in game. The excuse for 128 tick, kind of hard to believe anymore. Like,
Yeah.
right when you're like, I think this will help Counter-Strike. I think with Overwatch long term, I could see it hurting that game, not killing that game, but being more of a negative effect to Overwatch. Because Overwatch, you can't make like Valorant. Can't do it. They're different games.
Yeah.
So I think it can have more of a hurt effect on Overwatch without killing Overwatch, where Counter-Strike, almost the opposite. There could be some positive repercussion coming to us Counter-Strike fanboys in terms of just gameplay and them being more, keeping it more fresh, right?
Yeah.
Like you now have a competitor at, so
Mm.
that it could be a good thing.
We'll see. But again, if you were one of the lucky ones to get into the beta, hit us up on Discord. We're pretty much going around the clock playing with people. So hit us up. We'll definitely get you in a game and get some 5 stacks going. It definitely is one of those games that are just better with a 5 stack. Go figure. But again, hit us up on Discord if you got into the beta. We'd love to play some time. So let's get into some e-news, shall we? In CSGO, Chaos adds Voltage to their permanent roster. Of course, they dropped someone, Smooya, just because of the corona issues and everything there. Couldn't make it out, so they found their 5th with Voltage.
And then ESL, Tim, they revised like so they did one of two things. A, they released the road to Rio. So now we know the teams that are going to be competing for the major spots. And then they also shifted one team from North America over to EU, giving them that extra spot because Contact went from a North American team. From the time
So
that
they did go back
to an EU team. And so they gave that slot back to EU, kind of changing the balance of how many teams are now getting in. And so they've announced the list of teams that are going to be competing. They've announced the date starting from April 22nd to May 17th, roughly. Yeah. So in between that time frame, you'll have all of the regions compete: NA, EU, CIS, and so forth. And now we have the team lineup. So just again, to kind of let y'all know what's at stake here, like a team like Astralis that is, we say slumping for Astralis, not playing as well. They could potentially lose that legend status and get knocked out significantly earlier than any of us would have thought, because the EU the pool for EU is not an easy road. Vitality, Mouse, G2, FaZe, I mean, Fnatic, there's a lot of teams that have the potential to win in those types of games. So anyways, April 22nd to May 17th, we will see a full slate of Counter-Strike games that are going to feel major-ish in the sense of there's a lot riding on the line, including a prize pool for these as well.
Yep. Already talked about it a lot, but Temu officially announced that he was leaving Overwatch. We actually discussed it, kind of hinted it with Mike, and I think we've always said on the show, like, that's going to be the obvious route. So there's that. The LCK is moving to a franchise model for 2021. Honestly, yeah, didn't know they weren't, to be honest.
I didn't know they weren't.
I'd be lying to you if I said I watch a lot of LCK, but there you go. And ESPN is to broadcast the LCS Spring Split playoffs, and that was the one that was going to be here, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that was the one that was going to be in Dallas.
Frisco.
And again, the timing of these companies kind of working together is pretty cool, because obviously, where's the future of esports going, and maybe television. A partnership between ESPN and Riot is pretty damn good, and good timing for ESPN, and I bet they don't even know it. I bet they don't even know, like, Valorant. This is just a relationship for League of Legends, Yeah,
definitely. And I think it's just, it's crazy. It's one of the side effects to this whole Corona fiasco that everyone's in, is that it kind of forced a lot of hands for these networks. Like, hey, you want live sports, you want live programming, esports is kind of the only thing you got right now. So
There's only so much first take you can replay on ESPN, Tim.
there's only so many times you can debate LeBron versus Jordan. And I think
Or
they
is
finally peaked.
Did Tim Tebow get a fair shot?
Oh, yeah. So many times. CDL is finally back. We will see games starting up for the Call of Duty League starting April 10th. That is this weekend.
It's the Dallas homestand, Tim. Are you excited?
Can't wait to go. Can't wait to
You
go.
do it. This is technically the Dallas homestand for April 10th through the 12th. So you do have the big names just for people that are interested. You have Dallas there, you have Chicago there, Minnesota performing really well. Those are kind of, and then the Mutineers, who I don't know what we're going to see with the whole Pristini situation, but I'm excited to get that back on. Sad that we are not going to be at it, but at least Call of Duty is finally.
Yeah. Excited for that regardless of the situation. Let's see. Everything else there we've already gone over. Twitch and Summit, we already mentioned. The Twitch and Summit ended up breaking records, which was just insane when it comes to... I think they even broke the record that they broke from Friday. So it's just nuts. Now, even though half of that were bots, I guess, But in NASCAR, driver Bubba Wallace, if anyone got to see this, this is the epitome of... like esports and real life. But Bubba Wallace, a NASCAR driver, gets dropped from his sponsor after getting into a wreck and rage quitting when Clint Boyer intentionally hit him. That's awesome.
Clint Boyer clipped him twice.
They're just like one of us.
He clipped him twice, and the second one was a rough turn into him, so it was very obvious. I think he got his sponsor dropped because of a lot of the tweets that also came out earlier, so I think that also helped in getting his sponsors dropped. But it was funny, man. He was going, and then he just stopped, and he's like, all right, that's it.
See you guys.
Turned it off.
This is why I don't take it serious. It's pretty much me after every time I die in Valorant. Just
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
It was funny. You should
see
if
ya.
you haven't seen the clip, go catch that one. It was a good one. They're like us, people. They're
They're
us.
just like us. They're no better. They will rage quit if they get the chance. Speaking of quitting, it is quitting time for the show. That is it. That is episode 228 of The Centering, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Thank you so much for Alt for sponsoring the show. If you haven't already, go check them out on Twitter at Ultimate. Tell them TCR sent you. Go to the website and you can purchase our hoodie with them. It's pretty awesome. They actually just started shipping as well. So if you got them in the first round, you should probably be seeing them sometime soon. I think it's...
You'll know when we get them. I'm sure we'll be wearing them at the same time, and so pumped to finally get that stuff in. But yes, that's right around the corner.
Yeah, so if you've already purchased the hoodies, you should be getting them any day now. So make sure to send pictures at The Centering on Twitter. We'd love to retweet them out saying thank you so much. We will be back Sunday night for some Yikes of the Week. Who knows what other pros will be signed by then with Valorant. We got Call of Duty League back, as we said, so lots to get to. That's for Sunday night's show. Until then, for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.